The sort of features we're putting into this house should be put into every home.
It may be hard to see right now, but Louie Delaware has quite a plan for this giant hole on his Louisville property, the spot where his old home stood before the Marshall Fire swept it away.
We're basically making this so that this house is ready for anybody's needs, from somebody who may be in a wheelchair or a walker, or somebody who may have had a temporary setback in their life.
His new home will line up with the mission of his business.
I get to practice what I teach.
Delaware founded the Living in Place Institute, an organization teaching builders and designers ways to make homes more accessible to people in all stages of life.
For example, if someone is using a walker, most outlets are so low that they're not comfortable. It's one thing for them to have to go like this.
The new home will include big changes, like an accessible walk-in shower, to smaller things, like a raised faucet for the backyard hose.
Our house is not going to have any steps. A pathway into the house, no steps, including at the door, with no thresholds.
Delaware estimates the accessibility changes will add about 2% to the average cost of building a new home after the Marshall Fire, but he says it will pay off down the road.
Yes, there's a little bit of an incremental cost to do this, but the circumstance is that if you can save money by not having to go into, say, assisted living and be in the place that you really want to be, the payoff's huge.
Delaware is calling this an idea home. His goal is to try to build versions of this across the country. He'd then let builders and other folks stay in those homes for a few days and see how the stuff works practically. And in homes where more people will consider maybe changing this in their own home if they're doing any remodeling projects, maybe building something from scratch, just really simple, easy ideas. Something you don't even think about, like an outlet toward the ground, something you have to bend down.
When you first brought this up, I thought this is going to be a very different presentation. His concept's the one he shares, at least in the story today, very fundamentally plain and almost obvious in some ways.
It's standard stuff that you don't think about. Like one of the things I bumped into just kind of getting the house ready for my dad was the faucet. And a wide set faucet, you know, with the two handles that are kind of far away, that can be confusing for all, seniors, especially folks with dementia and Alzheimer's, like later in life. And someone suggested you just put the one single faucet with the one handle on top, makes it a lot easier to figure out which temperature
way?
you're getting.
When he was saying no steps in the home, we were showing a two-story home.
Yeah.
So
he has, typically in a home like that, you would want to put the primary bedroom on the main floor. They're putting their primary bedroom upstairs. They do a lot of entertaining, but he's built in space into that home where they can put a lift in. So there is dedicated space. So one day, if they decide to stay inside that home, they can put a lift there.
Because that's not the easiest thing to do based on what your stairs and your situation is like.
No, especially, you know, one of those lifts that kind of goes up the stairs. He's building a space where you can build a much easier lift to get you up and down.
he says the costs are incremental, though. He doesn't see that as being a great expense. It's more just designing it.
2% more maybe than building a regular home, but he says it pays off down the road. You know, the cost of assisted living and memory care, it can range anywhere from like $5,000 to $8,000 a month, maybe even higher. And
you think of it, it's not only the money, you think of it, it's out of love. I mean, you're really doing it for yourself or for your parents or for someone who needs it. It sounds like a pretty good way to spend some dough instead of something you don't like doing. There are a lot of things we spend money on that we don't feel good about.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good one.
The upheaval of leaving your home.
Oh, yeah.
You know that. That's really hard.
Oh, it's difficult.
People don't want to leave their home.
And this is just a way to think about the future. And I know a lot of people don't like to think about the future. You know, like you don't want to think about that point where you might have to leave your home. This is just something simple you could do now that might make that decision easier down the road.
An idea home.
Idea home.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve. That was good.
Thank you, Steve.